Hello, everyone.
Welcome back to Engaged and Divorced.
Where I wear the rings.
And I'm trying to figure out these damn things.
So many things to figure out, aren't
there are a lot of things to figure out. You know what one of the biggest things to figure out is? Do people call each other boyfriend and girlfriend anymore?
I don't know.
Like, when you're dating, do you go,
Probably.
do you want to be my girlfriend or do you want to be my boyfriend?
Probably.
Is that a thing people do? I asked a Facebook group I'm in just out of curiosity, and a lot of people are like, no, that's so juvenile. You don't ask people if they're your boyfriend when you're in your 30s.
What do you say? Partner?
You just say we're in an exclusive relationship. But still, like,
you don't ask,
I don't
you
feel
just
like
say
that's,
we're in a relationship
no,
now.
I mean, like, you ask, like, are we in an exclusive relationship? And if the other person says yes, then you're in an exclusive relationship.
Oh.
But I think you could be in an exclusive relationship without actually being boyfriend or girlfriend.
Yeah.
Dating's confusing. That's why I'm trying to figure out these damn
heck?
things, you guys.
I don't understand these damn things either.
It's been too long since you've been in the dating world.
Oh, it's been a while.
It's crazy out there. But
how's it going?
it's going good.
Good.
Update from last week. Still going strong.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
No tea, no drama.
No tea. I don't really want to share stuff.
That's fair.
You know?
You don't get to know, guys.
Not yet.
Scram. Just kidding. Don't actually. Stay here.
Stay here. Today I'm going to be talking about what it's like to date as a plus size woman and what it's been like finding my sexuality again after being raised in purity culture.
Mm-hmm.
So family that's watching this, don't watch this anymore. I'm just kidding.
Watch at your own
funny.
risk.
We have a lot of family members that watch the podcast and talk about it. So just a little warning there. I'm not going to talk too much about it though, because honestly, I kind of feel like I'm very, I'm like old fashioned in that sense. I feel like my sex life is something I really want to be like private about.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of people are like that, but I do listen to one podcast. Shout out to Swipe Fat. It's a whole podcast about like dating in a plus size body. And they go into detail about their sex lives, and I'm living for it because I love to hear like other people's stories.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of like a prude in that area.
I listened to a few where they go into detail too, and they like answer people's questions about sex and all that.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's different when you're like dating multiple people or like you're like in the dating world to give those details, because then people are like more shocked about what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm like, if I start talking about mine, it's like, you're married, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, nobody cares.
That's true.
So
that's very, very true. Yeah, because when I was married, we actually did a few videos on my channel about like what it's like having sex after kids and stuff. And I didn't mind answering those questions, but I think it's also just, you know, deconstructing and like coming out of that whole thing, which we've done videos on if you're curious. But this is like the first time that I'm dating and meeting men who aren't Christian for the most part.
yeah.
And I think it's different when you're dating with as a Christian. It's like the intention to marry, and usually as quickly as possible.
Oh my God.
And so like when you're not dating a Christian, it's a different layout.
One of my Christian friends, who I don't really talk to that often, but she's really sweet. But anyway, she met her husband at like, they just got married a couple months ago. She met him a year ago yesterday. And then yesterday she found out she was pregnant. So all of that happened in 1 year. I was like, how do you even know? Like, what? Okay, anyway, that's just an example of how wild it gets.
Well, that was our parents too.
Yeah.
Except they were within like 7 months, they were pregnant.
Yeah.
Dating.
Right. Theirs was a little shuffled of a timeline, but
yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. So
I think maybe one day we'll do like a sex drinking episode.
Maybe.
If it comes to it.
Maybe if I get to that point when I'm able to like come out of my shell a little bit
put
more
some
on this
alcohol in you
topic.
and you'll do it.
I don't know. It's like the one thing that I'm still like about. I feel like I wouldn't mind giving women like sex tips,
Right.
like bedroom sex tips or whatever, especially in a plus size body, because it's not the same as if you're in a thin body. Like you're limited kind of with the things that you can do. And like some positions are better than others. So maybe I'll end up doing like a YouTube video like that one day.
Yeah, there you go. Then you don't have to
then I don't
your
have to like
personal-
necessarily share my
right.
my stuff. I can make the focus on everyone else.
Yeah.
That might
Okay,
make
cool,
me
cool,
feel
cool.
more comfortable with it. So I'm sorry that like you can't really be a part of this conversation. You can chime in. I always feel bad when it's like a topic that's just
It'll
mostly me.
probably be like ranting about body standards and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
A few times,
Which
and
we'll get into. For
I'm
sure.
yeah, I'm sure we'll have discussion on that. So for now, you can just answer those questions, and I'll chime in if I can.
All right. Sounds good. While I'm bringing these questions up, why don't you tell everybody the movie you saw yesterday and why you love it?
I cannot stop talking about it. Well, first of all, I've seen 2 really good movies recently. If you are a horror fan, go watch Pearl, and then yeah. Anyway, but one of the best movies I've seen this year is Don't Worry, Darling. And I know there's controversy because of the drama that happened, which I still don't fully understand, but Harry Styles is in it, so I was like, I'm going to watch it for him.
Is this his first movie?
He was in Dunkirk, but he wasn't
Okay.
like a main
I didn't
character.
watch that. I love Harry Styles.
Oh my God, he did really good, but I don't really like his character, obviously. But anyway, go watch the movie. It is full of suspense. It is full of twists and turns. It's one of those where you watch the trailer and it's nothing like the trailer. Like, it is
Really?
so much better. And I'm really glad about that. Like, you don't know kind of what's going on until like the end. But it's really good.
Do you think I would like it?
You would love it. Yeah. And it reminds me of Promising Young Woman, if anyone's ever seen that. It's like different, but a lot of those like twists happen. It's very much like at the end you're cheering for the woman and all of that. So I don't know. I highly recommend though. It was much better than I thought it'd be because it didn't get very good ratings. So but it was really good. So go watch it.
And to piggyback off of movies, because I never watch movies. So if I watch a movie and I talk about it, it means something.
You watched a movie?
Last night, Mom and I watched the new Tyler Perry movie. It's called A Jazzman Blues on Netflix.
Was it good?
Oh my gosh. Heart-wrenching.
Really?
Just, you have to watch it.
Okay.
It's a lot. It takes place in like the 40s in the South. And it's from a black family's perspective, essentially.
Okay.
And it's really good, but it's hard. It's really hard to watch, but
oh yeah, I'll have to check it out.
yeah, movies really affect me. Like today I woke up all sad for watching that movie. I was just like, my God. But really important to educate ourselves at the same time. So
Yeah, that's why I like true crime. I don't like the romanticizing. I'm not a fan of that, but I like educating and learning. So
yeah.
Dahmer is pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway.
All right. Let's get to the questions. Not a lot of you asked a lot of questions, but that's okay. You probably were like, I don't even know what to ask in this scenario. Or maybe you're just not in the dating world yourself and you're happily married or something and you're just here for curiosity of what it's like. I always felt very curious about it myself. Like while I was still married, I would think about it. Like, what if I were to date again? What would that be like? Because based off of the comments that I get on my social media profiles, I thought that all men hated a body like mine. And that couldn't be further from the truth. It's really been the opposite experience for me, which has been like surprising.
That's really good.
And also positive. Yeah. And has made me realize that actually not everything is about our bodies. Like the least interesting thing about us is our bodies.
Right.
But some people make it to be everything. And you'll always get those guys on the apps and stuff that are that just like we'll literally see on the app like, I don't want any fat girls, so don't message me.
I think we read a few when we were doing the first drinking game.
We have for sure. So I mean, like obviously those kinds of men are still out there, or women, if that's your jam, or non-binary. Those people are still out there that are going to prefer like a smaller body. But in my case, like most of the time it's not a problem, and they don't even really talk about my body. It's not really like a focal point.
That's good. They shouldn't.
Yeah. And I've had, I don't think it's on here. Oh wait, yeah, no, it is. Was being plus size something you had to address on your bio or while talking to them? To me, it's like, if I have enough pictures that clearly show that I'm plus size, I don't need to put that in my profile.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing is I feel like putting the words plus size in your profile or even fat, it like throws men off because they're not used to women like describing themselves that way.
Right.
And I think it like scares them almost, is from my knowledge. But if you put curvy, that like is such a really wide
That's like
definition.
a sexy term.
Yeah, it's like Kim Kardashian. Like that's what people think of when they think of curvy. Like I'm not curvy and plus size. You know, there's a big difference because most curvy girls still have like a flat stomach,
right?
And like,
just like hips.
Perfectly proportioned bodies.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I kind of experimented a little bit with the wording I used in my profiles, and I did do curvy for a while. And that's when I used the word curvy, that's when like the creepers came over. And they just wanted me to have sex with me, essentially. They're like, curvy girl.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And there is this undeniable what's the word? Stereotype that some plus size women are easy. Like we don't get enough requests from men, so therefore we're really easy to get into the bedroom, which is really laughable because it's like if you could see my DMs, you would see that's not the case at all. like we get just as many men, you know, trying to get into our DMs as straight size people do. And that's really the thing too is, and I think like there needs to be more men sharing their perspective of their preferences because oftentimes men will just date or sleep with a curvy or plus size woman just to like say they did, but to actually like have them in a serious relationship with that person, that's a different story because then their friends have to meet the person. And then obviously there's like a lot of toxic masculinity in this world and misogyny. And so like they have to take the shit their friends give them. Like, you're dating a fat girl.
I like to think that people aren't like that anymore, but I'm sure they are.
I like to think that too, but it's definitely not
the case.
Yeah. I would say like if you have like good people as your family and friends, that's not going to happen.
Right.
But I think no matter what scenario you're in, there's always going to be at least one family member or one friend that's going to say something about your weight. Like even when I was married, there were people connected to my marriage that would comment on my weight and things. So like I feel like it's always going to happen to some capacity. Although it sounds like it hasn't happened to you.
No,
so that's awesome.
Many experiences.
Your mother-in-law's the best. she watches my YouTube videos and she's like, the other day when I was wearing the outfit, she's like, Walmart, right? I saw your try on or whatever it was that I was wearing. I can't even remember, but she knew because she saw the video.
Walmart, right? That's awesome.
But yeah, I think that's probably an insecurity of mine that I didn't realize until recently is like, once I do get into a serious relationship with somebody, what is their family and friends going to say about my body?
Yeah. Which is their issue, but yeah.
It's totally their issue. But it's something that's kind of on the back of my mind. And I think that's normal to feel that way. Although I don't, like I said, I don't make it a personality trait. It's not like I go around being like, I mean, I kind of do. I have a whole Instagram that's kind of like body positivity. But if I had to describe myself like I do on my dating profile, I would not include I'm plus size.
Well, nobody writes like skinny. Like, do they? Like, I don't think anyone like
sometimes, or they'll write like athletic or something.
That's different though. That means you like lift weights, but like nobody, I don't know if people just like talk about their weight because that's like more of a like hobby. I feel like you say athletic, but I don't know. I don't think you really need to mention it. Just post a picture of what you look like.
Exactly. And I think like being very particular about the kind of photos you do show, because you know some photos are more flattering. I hate this word. I hate it. It makes me want to throw up, but flattering than other photos. Like
the right angle.
Yeah, the right angle. You know, you might be wearing something that makes you look slimmer or something. I don't know. I think like having a variety of body photos is key. Because if you just have the selfies, like they're not going to be able to see your body. And I would hate to go on a date with some guy and he think that I'm like in a thinner body.
Yeah.
And when I get there, he discovers that I am not.
Well, even if he doesn't care, it might just feel awkward to you to worry about it. Like,
yeah,
not like you specifically, but like, you know, it's good to post that picture so that nobody has to worry about like.
Exactly. It gives you a peace of mind knowing that like that person knows what you look like and they're still interested in you. And I really feel like 9 times out of 10, men don't care what you look like as long as you have a connection and, you know, they're still attracted to you in some way. It doesn't necessarily have to be your body even, but just anything.
Have you had any guys like see your body and say anything about it at all, or has it all been positive?
It's all been positive.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And none of it has felt like fetish-y either.
Yeah.
That was like another question that I got here. Like, what did this? Oh, this person said I always felt sexualized for my curves and then got cheated on because I wasn't skinny enough. That like hurts my heart to read.
Wow.
Yeah, that really hurts my heart. I'm sorry that happened to you.
That's terrible.
I think that's another thing that like we kind of have to worry about in a larger body because like I said earlier, some men just want to have sex with curvy or plus size women to say that they have, because it is a kink, it is a fetish, unfortunately. But then at the same time, everything is kind of a kink or a fetish.
Right.
Like
there's a lot of things that are
like almost anything that's like a preference could be a kink.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, going back to what I was originally saying before I went off topic, I think that's why a lot of men are uncomfortable in sharing that they have preferences for plus size women, because when they do, people are like, oh, he's such a creep. He's got a fetish of fat people. And it's like, no, he just has a preference.
Right. People have preferences.
Yeah. And so sometimes it's hard to decipher what's a preference versus what is a fetish. And there was actually a man that I was talking to for a while. His original profile said something like looking for a chubby, curvy, sweet person or something. I don't even know how he worded it, but I was like, that's interesting, just because I don't really see that too often, like men actually having a preference for it.
Yeah.
So when we started talking, I asked him like, what do you love about curvy plus size women? And he sent me this like really poetic response, and I shared it in the Swipe Fat Facebook group, and all the women were like, red flag, red flag, red flag. Like, why is he writing poetry about curvy women? And I'm like, there's tons of poetry about every body type out there. I thought it was like really romantic and sweet, but they thought he had like a kink or a fetish. And I'm like, how do you really tell the difference?
You just got to get to know him, I guess.
I think that's it, is you just have to get to know the person before casting judgment. And also, I feel like people who just have it as a kink or fetish are going to try to get sexual like immediately.
That's what I was going to say too. He'd probably be asking you to hook up that first time you talk. Like if it was that much into it. Exactly.
Yeah. So I think that's the difference, is like how sexual are they getting, how quickly? Because that's very telling, and not just for plus size relationships, but like any relationship. That's very telling of like the direction of the relationship most of the time. Yeah. There's always exceptions, but most of the time I feel like that. 2 questions about confidence, like how to find confidence as a plus size woman in the dating scene. Do you have any insecurity? I think, yeah, like I shared, I am insecure about like actually getting into a serious relationship and possibly dealing with comments, because, you know, when you're in a new relationship, it's really important to get the approval of friends and family and people that are really close to your significant other. Like that's a big deal.
Right.
And so knowing in my own life that there have been people that I've encountered and they immediately write me off because I am plus size, I recognize that like that's a possibility that could happen, you know? And then at the same time, it's like they don't call the shots on our relationship. My significant other would, but it's just one of those uncomfortable situations where you don't really know how it's going to play out. So I would say that's my biggest insecurity.
Because you've been through it before. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like if you never went through it before, it may not be much of a worry, but you're just like,
Yeah.
you don't want to deal with that again. So
Yeah.
totally get it.
Maybe also like exercising with the person if they're in good shape. If I'm dating somebody and they have like a dad bod, then I probably would feel less insecure than being with like a thinner person. I mean, I was married to a marathon runner for a while. I mean, he started running like the last few years. So, but that never was the case with him. Like, I never really felt insecure about it necessarily.
It'd be more intimidating if they were like weightlifting and they were like super buff.
Yeah. Because all they eat is protein shakes.
Yeah, because like their diet is really important to them and like they have to be at the gym every day.
Yeah.
Like that's just kind of like you have to work around that.
Yeah. I think dating somebody who's like very like body conscious and like, you know, counts calories, is super, super active. Like their whole life revolves around that. I probably wouldn't even put myself in a scenario like that because I know that would just set me up for something later on.
Right.
But I think like going on a hike, for example, like I'm out of breath when I go on hikes because the elevation's high, you know, I have fat on my body. Like I'm going to be out of breath a little bit. So I think like doing things like that together, like active things like that where I'm struggling and they're not.
Yeah.
That's another insecurity, I would say. But like sexually, I don't think I have any insecurities, which is nice.
That's good.
It's really good. And that brings me to this book that's just been sitting here.
Sexy back.
So like right after I decided I wanted a divorce and I left, I realized I had a lot of insecurities about my body when it came to sex, really. And not just insecurities, but also like these firm held beliefs that I had by growing up in purity culture, which basically is the message of every time you sleep with somebody, you're giving a piece of yourself away.
You're never going to get it back. They're going to be haunting you for the rest of your life. Somehow you're going to think about them every day of your life.
Or that you are a dirty person. There's a lot of shame tied around purity culture. And as I've shared in previous episodes, a lot of the shame I felt about my body revolved around what I was taught in purity culture. So like breaking free of my marriage, I was like, I'm breaking free of the church. I'm breaking free of purity culture. I'm done with this. Like, I'm tired of living in shame. And so I went to Barnes & Noble and I was like looking around and I found this book. It's called Taking Sexy Back: How to Own Your Sexuality and Create the Relationships You Want by Alexandra Solomon.
But you can't take it back without the receipt.
But you can't take it back when it's a part of you that's been ripped apart from you.
Oh, that got deep.
Let me just read this first paragraph back here because I feel like this explains it really well. As women, we're expected to be sexy, but not sexual. We're bombarded with conflicting, shame-inducing, and disempowering messages about sex instead of being encouraged to connect with our true sexual selves. Sexy gets reduced to a performance, leaving us with little to no space to reckon with the complexities of sexuality. And that's another thing. Being raised in purity culture, it was always like men are the sexual ones.
Yeah.
Women have no desire for sex at all.
Don't make them stumble.
Yeah.
Cover up.
Yeah. And then when you're married, it's like make sure you're giving your husband sex as much as possible. Like, to be honest, it's very actually coercive. For the most part, I'm not saying every Christian marriage is, but the ones that I encountered personally and based off of some of my own experiences, sex can be very coercive, and that messes up the way that you view sex in general. So all that to say, this book was really good for me to read as I kind of like figured out who I was again, and I highlighted a lot of pages, and I sometimes will go back to this book and read it. Really, really good. Great read. Highly recommend. Wanted to share that because a lot of people have asked me, like, how have you found confidence in your body and in yourself? And I would say, like, that book really did it for me. It was really helpful. I also listened to, like, a lot of podcasts, basically whatever podcast I could find about, like, women's sexuality, you know, because women are sexual beings as well.
And that's okay.
Shocker. And it's okay to own it, too.
Yeah.
You know? It's like if I own my sexuality, which I have very openly on the internet at times, I'll get comments from people being like, who do you think you are? You're a mother. You can't dress that way now. It's like, just because I'm a mother doesn't mean I have lost my sexuality. Still very much a part of who I am.
Hell yeah.
And unless you're like asexual, sexuality is a big important part of all of our lives. So I don't know why it's something that we like try to run away from instead of embrace. Because once you embrace it, you live so much more freely.
Yeah,
definitely. So
now I'm just thinking of the different standards for men and women. I was thinking of how music, like how we have like these rappers who can talk about like, you know, being in the club and like seeing all the booty and like, you know, all the hot women. And then the second, like a female artist writes a song about like their sexuality, they get attacked for it. Like my good example is Demi Lovato, like the songs that they've written, people have like fully attacked them for coming out as who they are. And like, it's so annoying, the different standards.
Yeah.
It's like, ugh.
Not to mention, it's also focused around like beauty standards in the sense of women who embrace their femininity are more likely to be accepted.
Yeah.
By society and by men. And to be honest, maybe that's one of the reasons why I've had positive experiences, because I am a very feminine person. I enjoy makeup. I enjoy doing my hair. Like I enjoy all of those things. If I was a plus size woman in a body and I embrace more of like my masculine side, and maybe I like sports more, or I just, you know, was more relaxed about what I was wearing or whatever the case may be, it would be a different experience.
That's true. Yeah.
It would definitely be a different experience. So I can recognize that, because I know for me personally, if I go to the store with no makeup on, nobody's talking to me. Like if I go in with just like sweats, no makeup, like whatever. If I go in like this, I have like 20 people coming up to me like, oh my God, I love your makeup. I love your hair. Like I love your outfit. I love that. And so I think it's like important to recognize that like these beauty standards do exist, and they change based off of like how much effort we put into our appearances.
Yeah. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
It's really sad, but it's true.
It is true.
It's like whatever your eye is drawn to, it's like, okay, I can accept that. It's crazy.
Yeah. And then, but you know, then men are like, well, we love you without makeup.
Oh yeah. And then they're like, why do you look so tired? Are you okay? It's like, yeah.
Or those videos of those women who have like a lot of makeup on, and like I don't like makeup to the point where it like completely alters your appearance.
Oh yeah, it changes your skin tone.
I think that is too much. And plus we're just creating unrealistic standards for our children and for the younger generations.
Yeah.
Same with filters. So yeah, but then these men see women without makeup and they're like, oh, false advertising.
Yeah, which is stupid. But I have a question for you. So being in the dating world, because I've heard girls talk about this where they're like, I refuse to not wear makeup in front of him until we're more into the relationship. Like, I won't even fart in front of him. Like, all of that stuff. Like, what? I just don't understand that, because you're just being fake, basically. I don't know. Like, I know some girls are just trying to, like, they don't want to give it to him all at once. But, like, he should know what you look like without makeup. Like, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Anyway,
I'm laughing at the farting comment because it's like,
maybe that's
the appropriate time to introduce farts.
But
because I was married for 12 years and I never farted in front of him.
Why? Like,
I don't know.
Were you good? Did your stomach hurt? How do you like?
I would just go to like the bathroom and do it. Like, I don't know. To have the comfort with somebody where you can just completely fart in front of them.
I don't think I farted in front of anyone until Basil, but like,
really?
Yeah, but I honestly don't fart that much. Like, I'm gonna be honest.
You're not a big farter?
Or if I do, it's just very small. But it'll just be like, anyway, maybe the farting's different, but like the makeup situation, like when do you think is the time to show what you look like without makeup?
I think, okay, so for the first date, I like to wear very minimal makeup.
Okay.
Like foundation, maybe a little blush, mascara, chapstick.
Okay. Keep it simple.
Yeah. And then eyebrows if they're not done. Just because I feel like, I don't know, that it's simple, right? And it's not like altering my appearance at the same time.
They know what they're actually looking at.
Yeah. At the same time, like, I love makeup.
Yeah.
And I enjoy putting it on. So I don't know. For those first few dates, I just like to be as natural as possible, and then like slowly introduce it, because like I understand not all men love lipstick. Well, let me just say right now, any man who doesn't like bright colored lipstick is not the man for me.
Wait, so you do the reversal where
happen.
you like start off with little makeup and then
because I'm afraid of like scaring guys and them being like, why do you have purple lips? But honestly, if a guy had a problem with me wearing purple lipstick, I'd be like,
well, screw
bye.
him. Yeah,
because nothing's gonna come between me and my purple lipstick.
But like, what about no makeup?
Is none at all?
Yeah, like let's say you're chilling at home and then one of them wants to FaceTime. You gonna go put on some makeup in the bathroom real quick, or are you gonna just answer the call?
No, I'd answer the call.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
That hasn't really happened except for the guy I'm currently talking to. I called him with no makeup on, and I was like, "This is a big deal," because that's never happened. I've never done that with anybody.
But well, that's how it should be, though. You should feel comfortable enough to like
exactly, and that's when you know it's like it's a good sign when you feel comfortable to be yourself. I've
literally heard people say like, "Oh, he can't see what I look like without makeup," and I'm like, "So what do you do when you like?" If you like sleep at his house, you just keep your makeup on all night, and in the morning you have to go like touch up.
But what does this come from? Misogynistic beauty ideals. Because in the 1950s, a lot of women,
who cares? You should accept
a lot of
you for who
women
you
would
are.
wait till their husbands fell asleep, and then they would take their makeup off, and then they'd wake up like an hour early to wake up, put their makeup on, and then lay beside their husband and pretend like they're sleeping, so that he would wake up and think they just woke up looking like that. What an exhausting life to live.
Yeah, no.
Like, I feel so bad for our ancestors who went through that crap. Neither one of our grandmas did that, because I've asked them. No, I would never. But it was definitely a thing. And obviously to this day, we've carried some of those beauty standards over.
Because your job was to be the wife. Like, that was your whole role.
Mm-hmm.
Cook,
to
clean.
be pretty to look at, and to do all the things for the man.
And you had to be the best wife. Like, it was kind of like a competition. It's like... Anyway, that kind of goes with Don't Worry, Darling. They do that.
Okay.
It like takes place. It doesn't take place in like the 50s, but kind of. Anyway.
Okay.
So yeah,
Sounds
you
good.
see a lot of that issue too. But anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just thinking of that. Like, if you feel comfortable with them, you should be able to show them yourself without makeup. And if they don't approve, screw them.
Eventually, they're gonna see you without makeup. Anyway.
Yeah.
All it takes is that first sleepover.
Exactly. You don't want to sleep with that mascara, honey. No, go take that off. It's okay. He will understand. You don't want those black flakes in the morning.
Black flakes.
I literally can't sleep with makeup on. I don't know how people do it.
I'm so anal about that.
Yeah, no.
I cannot. Until I do my skincare routine, I cannot go to sleep.
Yeah, same.
Somebody asked, maybe too much information, but bedroom life, is it weird trying to share your body with someone new in that way? Yes, it is weird at first. Just because it's different, right? Especially because I was a virgin when I was married. So there's that dynamic as well. I think maybe if I would have like experimented when I was younger, like most people do, it probably would be a different experience. I don't know. That's the thing about sex and sexuality. It's so complicated. There's so many layers. It's like, it's not a black or white subject. It's like, there's so much to it. There was a point during marriage counseling when our marriage counselor told me that he thinks I should have went to a sex therapist. And I'd be curious to know what that experience is like, because I've never been through a sex therapist. I don't think most people have.
I bet it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I follow a sex therapist on Instagram, and it's just really cool to hear like her insight.
Yeah.
And, like, she just breaks the stigma on everything. So
yeah, I follow a few as well. I actually feel like if I were to become a therapist, I'd want to be a sex therapist. I just find it really fascinating. Mm-hmm. Have you seen the show Sex Education? I
don't think I have.
It's like a British show. Oh, I love it. It's so good. This is kind of like the last question I got. How do you handle a guy that doesn't know he's fat phobic? Okay, so fat phobia is another topic that, like, we could literally do a whole episode just on fat phobia, because there's so many avenues of fat phobia, and each and every one of us is fat phobic, period. We all are, because we were raised with these standards, with these ideals that we have had to come to terms with as we grow up. And even if you're somebody who has worked through their insecurity with their body, you are still going to find yourself thinking things about your body or saying things about your body that stem from a fat phobic place. So I will probably do a video on fat phobia. I've been wanting to do one on my YouTube channel for a while because I personally have been educating myself more on it, and I'm like so fascinated by what I'm finding, and I just want to like share that information with all of you. So stay tuned for some of those videos. But as far as like a man being fat phobic, like I said before, we all are. So it's really about learning to be curious about those things instead of judgmental, and then working through your thought processes on it. I don't know. I can't really give a specific example, but if you feel like a man is like openly fat phobic, like if he's writing you a message and he's clearly saying something disrespectful, block. Like, you know what I mean? Or don't go on a date with a guy like that again. If he says something about your body on a date, don't. Yeah, because
how do you know if they're fat phobic if they don't like say it? Like they'd have to make
exactly.
Like, as long as they're not making comments and, like, being rude and they still find you attractive, like...
Mm-hmm. One of the biggest ways you can tell if somebody is, like, really struggling with fat phobia is how they talk about other people that they see. What people say about other people tells you a lot about what they believe about not only themselves, but also you.
Yeah.
And if you're with somebody who's, like, really pessimistic and negative about pretty much everything, chances are... that's going to be a point of contention later on in the marriage. But if you have, this is one of those really, really tricky subjects too, because I also have been asked about how to handle it when your spouse comments on your weight. Because some women get married in a thinner body, and then as life happens and you have babies and time goes on, you gain weight naturally. Bodies fluctuate. Right. It's normal.
It's going to happen.
Right. But some men have an issue with the way that these women's bodies have changed. So these women message me and they're like, what do I do? And every part of me wants to be like, leave him. But like, listen, I understand it's not that easy. And also like, if that's the only offense he's ever done, I don't know. It makes it tricky.
That's something he needs to go work on.
Exactly.
Because the thing is, they're going to guilt trip it, make it feel like it's the woman's fault.
Yep. No, and it's not. It's not your fault.
Like, she's doing fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with her. Mm-hmm. There's everything wrong with, and maybe like he feels bad about it, but like either way, he needs to go to therapy. He needs to be able to like figure that out on his own.
Yep.
And not blame the woman for that. Especially if you had children with her. You can't be like, oh, you gave me 6 kids and you look like that. Yeah.
It blows my mind. It absolutely blows my mind. But, you know, I kind of went through some of that stuff in my own marriage and I get it. It's hard because, you know, bodies do fluctuate and bodies do change, but not everyone is accepting and loving of that. But that's, girl, the first time that happens, tread lightly. And put him in his place the first time it happens. Or them in their place. Whoever's saying it. Put them in their place the first time it happens. Lay those boundaries down. Don't be afraid to be like, we are not having this conversation again. Mm-hmm. And if we do, this is going to happen. Mm-hmm. Remember, boundaries aren't about having that person listen to your commands. Boundaries about you're going to do it no matter what they choose to do. You're only responsible for yourself. You're not responsible for the actions or opinions or any of that of anybody else, including men. It's not your job to be responsible for these men's feelings unless you were the one who like caused them hurt or something, as long as you're not hurting somebody, obviously. But it's not your responsibility for these people to find like therapy and get help on their own. They have to do that themselves. You can encourage that, but ultimately they have to be the ones to put in the effort. And I think, as you guys have probably seen with the episodes where we're doing dating profiles, it's very evident which men have like worked on themselves. Maybe they haven't gone to therapy per se, but they have done the healing work. Like they have recognized their own traumas and they have worked through some of those things, and they realize it's a lifelong process and you're never going to stop. You're going to constantly grow and evolve. So finding men who like believe that overall, I think is really, really helpful in making sure that you find somebody that's not going to be a total turd sandwich about your weight. But sometimes you don't find out these things until years and years later. I think like establishing early on and like expressing that you do love yourself, and that includes your body, and that you feel confident in that, kind of dismisses any negativity when it comes to not only how they view your body, but how they view their own bodies. Because that's another topic too, is like men have body insecurities just as much as we do.
That's what I was going to bring up. Yeah, because it's like, I feel like a lot of times if men gain weight, like their family will comment on it.
Always.
And
crazy.
It seems more quote unquote acceptable than commenting on a woman's body, but it's still not right. And it's the same situation. If you're upset that your husband or boyfriend, whatever, gained weight because of getting older and, you know, watching football with the boys, I don't know, but like being a dad, you know, it's the same situation. It's not his fault. If you're genuinely worried about him, like, address that differently than talking about his weight, but like that should be something that you work on, you know, whoever's the one that's having the issue with it, that's something they need to work on. And people will say like, well, it's out of love, like I just want them to be aware of this, and like I feel like it happens a lot, and I feel like we don't hear about it as much, but I feel like it's probably a big issue in a lot of relationships where like one of them is kind of controlling over the other person's weight, and that's just, I can't even imagine being in a relationship like that. Like that,
it's not healthy.
That's so sad that like one person feels like it's their only way to be accepted.
Yeah.
It should not be like that.
But that's, you can tell people who are critical of other people's bodies are extremely critical of themselves.
Yeah.
It's like the saying, hurt people hurt people.
Right.
Like it's very evident and very clear that people who are going to comment on that part of your life and that part of your looks are struggling with it personally, or they have not worked through some of their own biases and fat phobia that they've learned from their parents or peers or whoever. So yeah, I feel like that sums it up really well. You're not responsible for anyone but yourself, and
it's not your problem, it's theirs.
It's not your problem if a man has a problem with your body. There are ways to address, like if there's been significant weight gain or something and it's like altering the person's life, right? That's a little different.
Like you can tell they're depressed and like you're just worried about them that way.
That's different. But still, I still wouldn't go up to the person and be like, listen, you've gained a lot of weight.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Don't address it like that.
No, it needs to be something that's going to cause the person to want to do it because they love themselves. Like they want to change their body or they want to get healthier because they have a genuine love for themselves. Because criticizing ourselves doesn't actually work. So if you have additional questions, you can leave them down below. We can answer them. And actually, this is a good week to ask us questions because next week we're going to do like a frequently asked questions video or like ask us anything type of video.
Ooh,
so any questions you have for
nothing's
Kylie,
off limits.
Nothing's off limits, except maybe details about my sex life. But everything else,
just kidding.
Everything else is totally open. So if you have a question for Kylie or me or for both of us, leave them down below. We'll make sure to answer them.
Heck yeah.
Next week.
Woo! Very exciting.
We hope that you enjoyed this video. Anytime I can talk about,
and podcast.
Yeah, and podcast. I'm sorry. I always just assume people are like watching and not actually listening, but that's not true. There's people that
I don't
just
like to watch podcasts. I listen to them.
Yeah.
I don't like to sit there and be like, no, when I'm listening to podcasts, I'm running around the house. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. I don't know what I was going to say after
Sorry.
that. You just interrupted my train of thought.
Something about the topic. I don't know.
We appreciate you being here. If you enjoy this podcast and you enjoy tuning in every Friday to us, leave us a review.
5 stars.
We would love to read them. I still can't figure out how to read them. They're there. We have 5-star reviews and I can't read them.
On what?
On Apple iTunes.
Oh, I've never used Apple Podcasts or whatever.
I don't know how to. I don't know how to like check the reviews, but they're there for everybody else to read, I guess. So, thanks.
Hopefully, they're good.
We appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here, and we hope you have a fantastic weekend. Let us know if you've decorated for Halloween yet, because Kylie over here, her house is decked out.
There's not enough though, but I'm trying to just convince myself it will build up over the years. Don't go too crazy. So eventually I want to be able to decorate every room in my house for Halloween.
That's how I feel about Christmas. I will have a tree in every room of the house, and I have before.
Cool. Yeah.
And like the most trees I've ever had is like 5 trees.
You got a whole forest.
It's great. Oh yeah, I do have like a forest. Like in the living room, we'll do like 3 trees or whatever. Yeah, that's something I gotta figure out. I have like 3 Christmas bins, but who do they go to? When you get divorced, you have to separate a lot of things. My biggest questions are who gets the Christmas stuff, and who's gonna sponsor our compassion child.
Wait, did we get that figured out?
No, I have to
so
talk
the
to him about
child's
it.
just waiting. Like,
I mean, we pay every month.
Oh, okay.
For the child, still, but she's only 7. We still
so
have.
she's not just like, guys, what happened?
No,
where is
we
it?
haven't left her out in the
Dust.
cold dust. I don't know. It's not cold there. It's warm there.
Yeah,
but
no.
we haven't left her. But it's like that's something they don't teach you about divorce.
I think you need.
If you're sponsoring a child in another country, who pays for the child? Do you split it every month?
Who was more into the Christmas decorations?
Me.
Did you get them all? Buy them all?
He has all of them. They're all in
Yeah,
his
but
house.
did you buy them all?
Yes.
Then they're yours. Period.
Are they?
Yeah, and I would say, hey, I'm on my way to pick up my Christmas decorations.
I don't have room for them. But what would you do with the child?
Well, that's something that you got to figure
Nobody's
out.
ever like talked about it.
Flip
What do
a
you
coin.
do?
I don't know. Ask, do you want to take care of this child or me?
I want to be a single mom to 3 kids.
All right.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah,
Or
thank
listening.
you.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye. Bye.